Hi everyone, welcome to Lights, Camera, Action. I'm Allison Howard and your host for tonight. Tonight is our first episode of season 2 and I'm so excited that we're in our second season for this talk show. It's amazing. And I have 3 wonderful actresses who are going to be talking tonight. So first we have Felicia Gonzalez-Brown, Megan Caulfield, and Molly Nevola. Thank you so much for coming, guys. This is going to be a great conversation.
Thanks, Allison.
Thanks.
Yeah, season 2 kickoff. All right, so first question is, how did each of you get into acting? Whoever wants to answer first.
It felt like I was entertaining from the womb. I jumped out, but I really started getting on stage in middle school and high school, and from there I realized there's something there. Yeah.
So you started with school plays and
exactly.
things like that?
Yeah, on stage and everything. And what I really liked about my beginnings is that my parents in no way, shape, or form brought me into acting. It was within me. And I had no stage parents or anything like that. They just saw, she's kind of funny.
Oh, she's kind of funny.
Let's encourage this.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Megan, how about you?
Well, acting was something that I'd always taken like as an elective growing up, but it wasn't until about a year and a half ago that I had the really good fortune of being a part of a nationally broadcasted television series, and just being on the set of that show made me think, wow, I really want to get into this more seriously.
So were you in California when you did that? Or?
I was in California when I did that. Just visiting.
Okay.
But my day job basically brought me on this set really randomly. And so I came back to DC and said, well, first I'll start taking some classes. And one thing led to another. There were so many great resources that it wasn't hard to get started. So it was great.
That's very cool. That's awesome. Molly, how about you?
I sort of a similar background with that. I studied journalism and broadcast, and I got into news and journalism here in DC, and I've always had a passion for TV, film, and like you, also high school, musical theater and stuff like that. And I, looking back, I think I wish I had taken more of that. I really fell in love with the arts later, so probably a few years ago, I got into more on-camera stuff. I guess being in a cable news broadcast environment and being sort of like behind the scenes also involved in production and cameras got me into wanting to be on camera reporting, and then that led to more actual performance. So that's sort of how it came to be.
So since you've done reporting and now you've been doing a lot of character development and a lot of character driven things, what is the biggest difference that you've found between reporting and the character side of acting?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I mean, you're totally putting on a new front being a character, and for me, reporting was like, be as real as you can be. I mean, you're just there giving the news to the public, and you're doing a service, and I love news. I've always been passionate about journalism, and it's sort of, there's a difference, like on camera chemistry with other people, and just creating an artistic scene that really works for the camera. So yeah, it's different for sure.
That's really interesting. I've never had a reporter on this, a former reporter. That's very cool. So I know that there is quite a bit of commercial work and industrial work that's here in DC. Do you guys tend to gravitate towards that type of work, or do you really try and delve into more character-driven work as well? Because I know that there are indie films and television shows that film around here. Which do you guys, what is the difference between all of those for you?
Well, I don't think you can avoid the industrial work that's in this area. Whether you're looking for it or not, it kind of just tends to fall in your lap. And some of it actually does require some character development, and you have a good opportunity to actually act rather than feel more like a public service announcement. Right. So I would say it's about 50-50 for me in terms of, and that's just really based on what's available and what I've found in the area.
Yeah, I would say the same. It's so big here. The federal government, military, I mean, every sign you see needs actors or models or people to present that information. So it's really a huge portion, I think, of what we do in this area, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, when I transferred from stage to film, the first things that I got were industrials, and it was just great practice in that switch, because there's such a difference from that stage performance to that camera performance. So it kind of gets you understanding how this whole film thing goes. You know, and it's one of those things where you start off there, and hopefully as, you know, you get more experience, you're able to, you know, get those indie films and those commercials and everything like that. But it's a great place for an actor to begin their journey in film. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, I know all of us have done commercials and industrials and indie films. Now, what has been your favorite experience that you've had working on a set, whether it's a commercial or a short film or a feature-length film, or if there was just something funny that you had to do for whatever it might be? What has been your favorite?
I had an incredible experience being a photo double on Iron Man 3.
Oh, neat.
Oh, wow.
When the suit came out, the Iron Man suit came out, that was a moment in my career. I was like, this is the suit right there with the glowing little palm and everything like that.
That's super exciting.
And they put me in a situation where I had this like jet airplane type of fan behind me blowing me because it was an effect and everything, and the suit in front of me and these amazing directors, and I was like, this is a moment to note. And it was by far one of those moments that I won't ever forget, even, you know, with other things in front of me. But yeah, that was exciting. That was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I was going to say, anything with awesome special effects or costumes really takes the cake, I think, on that stuff. I had a couple memorable experiences. One was just a small little role just on, you guys know Parks and Recreation came to DC.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So just doing even small background work for them and meeting Amy Poehler and hanging out with that cast and the direction just for that one day in DC was so exciting. That was last summer. So sort of like the bigger things that come here I think are really exciting. And then the other one that takes the cake for me is literally celebrating Kevin Spacey's birthday on set with House of Cards, which films in Baltimore. And they, really amazing direction with that show, obviously. And they split it between a few directors. And that day, the director, instead of calling cut for this one little scene that I was in, everyone broke out into happy birthday and rolled out a cake. And just to be there around such a legend was really, really cool. So
That's neat.
That's a fun memory.
I remember an experience that was really fun working for Sirens Media. I actually had to play a meth head, so I had a lot of really crazy makeup on. And in this one scene, I literally had to destroy a room. And you couldn't do the take more than once because there was only one room to destroy. And but literally with a knife cutting open pillowcases and throwing lamps, it was
amazing.
So much fun.
It's a great memory.
So yeah, that was really, really a great time.
How did you psych yourself up to do that?
I have to give credit to the other actor that was in the scene with me, because I saw him going crazy and he just kind of gave me the energy because it wasn't normal, obviously, to be absolutely throwing furniture and everything around the room.
It's really good
to think. Is that normal for you?
Not normal for me.
Yeah.
But it was great.
So that sounds like an incredible role, because I don't feel like that would be a role that would necessarily come across the table all that often. So that's amazing that you had that opportunity. Now, speaking of a role that might be like a once in a lifetime type thing, is there any type of character that you guys would like to play at some point in your life? So like, I've never played a meth head, so I think that would be incredibly interesting. That might now be at the top of my list. But are there any roles that you would like to play at some point in your life or your career?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I've always wanted to be like the screaming horror flick girl, like in a really good horror, because I know there's few and far between for those, but I just love, I mean, growing up, we've seen a lot of stuff, and like some things made it, some things don't, but I think horror, anything with an extreme passion, horror, extreme comedy is really interesting. So I'm really interested in comedy and horror, I guess. It's kind of an odd interest, but yeah.
So you'd like to be the screaming girl that runs away from the killer?
The screaming girl, but like, or like the lead that has like a whole psychological thriller type horror. I don't know, I love that genre, kind of, so yeah.
I've always wanted to do a period piece.
Okay.
That would really force me to dive in and study the history and learn more about a particular period.
Definitely.
So that's something I always thought would be really fun to do.
Would you want to do something like within American history or like maybe European history or?
That's a good question. I think I always envisioned it being more American history,
Okay.
but just anything that would force me to kind of go to a time
Yes.
that I wouldn't otherwise obviously really think about or
Right.
focus on.
It's amazing to make a role more of like a learning experience. So
Yes.
being
Exactly.
really learning about something, that's so exciting because you're being educated and performing and doing your artistic passion. So
Right.
Getting into a completely different world.
yeah.
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 Yeah, that's what pushes us.
How about you?
I would say it's between actually a monster, like a zombie.
Really?
Like,
The
yeah, so
makeup.
maybe we could, the zombie
Collaborate.
running after, yeah.
Sure.
Like a zombie, like, just someone who is just a monster. And I think that would be really fun. Or on the opposite, a superhero.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that would be
Those are the
so
best.
fun. Just hook me up to something where I can fly, and I think that would be so much fun because it's
Absolutely.
all imaginary what we're doing.
Yeah.
And to be able to do something like that would be, I think.
It's really the
cool.
creativity of all that's so exciting. So to be able to
Yeah.
put that on as a character, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, stemming off of what you had said before, have there been any roles that you have had to go and learn something, like whether learning about the history, like how we were talking about, or maybe you had to learn some stage combat, or you maybe had to look at rehab tapes about meth heads?
How to be
Like,
addicted. Yeah.
So has there ever been anything that you have had the opportunity to work on that you've had to do more research and learn about something that maybe doesn't come across you in your life?
Yeah, I literally did research into meth heads and watched
amazing.
Breaking
You have to,
Bad.
yeah.
Yes.
And
Very timely for that.
just
What about
and-
Intervention? The
Oh,
A&E
right.
show?
I didn't catch that in particular, but I just did a little bit of research, and I remember someone on set like slipped up and said cokehead, and I was like, wait a second,
It's different.
That's really
Hold
different.
up,
Don't mess me up right now. I'm a meth head.
I'm in my
Specific.
zone.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Nothing specific comes to mind. I think more like with the industrials and stuff, just learning particulars and technical terms and just knowledge about certain aspects of the military or companies.
Right.
That's kind of interesting. I mean, it's very interesting. It's challenging. It's something that people don't really know is really challenging for that part of acting, I think. maybe.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and a lot of times with industrials, as you all know, you're using a teleprompter, and you're then reading the prompter, but you have to sound as if you know exactly what you're talking
for sure.
about.
Yeah.
And understanding those terms, sometimes it's just,
Right.
what does that even mean?
And it just sounds so much better. It flows so much better when you really do understand it.
Exactly.
So taking that time is really crucial, I think.
Exactly.
Mine was I was a Marine in a Navy training industrial sexual assault prevention and response training video. She was my character was sexually assaulted. It wasn't just the research into what a victim feels like or how she would speak after something like that happened. It was also speaking as a soldier because they speak not just a soldier, a Marine. I don't like being called soldiers. A Marine, being a Marine, being sexually assaulted is there's so many layers there.
He was at my place, just waiting for me with that puppy dog look on his face. So I said, yeah, okay, just talk. Things got really, really bad. He was just so angry and so strong. He raped me.
So that was an exceptional experience for me. It really required research and to go somewhere that I had not previously gone before, and it's a sickening, at times sickening, place that you have to put your head into.
Right.
But it's required to be believable and to touch people and hopefully change things.
Absolutely. Did that have a personal effect on you at all?
Yeah, it definitely did. I already, have my husband's in the military, so I already know that it's something that needs to be addressed. I know the culture already, but after being in her shoes, it's so much more important to me. So, just to go in that place, it's exceptionally important to give soldiers a voice.
Absolutely.
And so that was a wonderful experience for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Now, did you go in and audition for that?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, that one, I felt like that was an endless audition because it was, it was like, regular audition, call back, and then we think you're right, but one more time, let's see if you're really going to bring, because it was a complex character. So, yeah, that one, but it also provided me some research into, because I kept getting feedback each audition. So I was able to kind of get her where they wanted her to be, and also where it was authentic. So that the audition process was pretty rigorous.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really rigorous. For what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say that's a huge part. Like, you are interpreting for an audition what you believe the part to be, but then you do need that feedback because you want to perform it how the director wants you. And so that's an interesting challenge, I think, in every audition that we do.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes they say, "I want her more this," and you weren't going that way.
I could have done that, but I was thinking this part. So, yeah, definitely.
But that feedback is wonderful, as opposed to just, "Thank you."
Yeah, I agree. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, that sounds like a fairly rigorous audition process that you went through. Have any of you guys gone through a rigorous process through the auditioning, whether or not it was like a callback after callback after callback, or if it was just a really intense audition that you may not have necessarily, thought was going to be as intense as it was?
Oh, there was one in particular that they were building an ensemble, and they needed 3 of us. And basically they brought 3 people in for each character. Okay. So there was 9 of us in the room.
Oh my goodness.
And they just kept mixing the 3 different people.
Together.
And then little by little would send people home. And everyone that you're auditioning was watching you.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
And it's like, by the end of the day, it was nice that I was one of the ones left over and I got the part, but it was really nerve-wracking to sit there and go through that.
In the end, you're auditioning in front of your competition.
Right.
In the end, I think the lining up and the viewing of everyone is the worst part. It's not just being on camera. We all are familiar with that. We're comfortable. It's that weird anticipation, I think, that's the worst part.
Certainly. Yeah, I know some people, though, who have said that they have thrived in the situation where they have their competition in the same room and they're sitting and watching.
Interesting.
Whereas I personally, I prefer when it's just the casting director or the director, producer, whoever's in the room. Now, when it comes to auditioning, I know it's a scary process no matter which situation you're put in, but just, can you guys talk about the audition process just for some viewers who don't necessarily know about it? I mean, how do you guys prepare? Do you prefer if you get sides or if you have to do a monologue? I haven't done a monologue in forever for an audition.
Agreed. It's almost an antiquated form, I think, of auditions. But I don't know. Everyone's doing different things now, but yeah, I mean, I'd say I like it when you're solo with the casting director or director and just sort of getting their feedback, and that it's, what would you guys say?
Yeah, monologues are what scare me the most about auditions.
And
I'm not personally a classically trained actress, so I can't say that I've even have any training with monologues. And so the idea of having to actually choose a monologue, forget learning it and giving it as a presentation, just actually picking one, because it's so hard to tell what people want to see or what they might be biased towards.
Right.
So
I remember doing some stuff like that just in theater classes in high school when I was younger and not recent, but learning more of the art of improv and how important that is for, first of all, off the cuff in auditioning to amp up your audition, but also just to know it for on-screen things. And we have a lot of casting groups here that do improv type shows, and I think it's a good part of acting is improv.
Absolutely.
I prefer sides. I don't like monologues, and ever since I've increased my professionalism, I have made sure to make, I'm off book, my sides, I'm able to take in the notes that they give me, and ever since I made sure I'm off book on sides, I felt like the success rate has gone up with that.
Right.
So that way there's not that paper breaking that communication towards the camera. That's something I learned. You know, beginning I was bringing that paper in and holding on to it for dear life, but once I made sure to drop that paper of sides at the door, so that way I could become what, you know, hopefully they want for that role, it's been more successful for me. But it is nerve-wracking. I think one of the things that people don't understand about actors is that this is what we do for the rest of our life, is auditioning. I know. You know, the looking for a job for a regular person is nerve-wracking. This is what we do all the time. This is our life. We are going to be looking for a job even when you have a job, you're looking for another one.
It's a constant hustle, exactly.
Yeah. So that's, you know, that's a tricky thing, and you're in there, and everyone else is doing the same thing. So
some people thrive on that kind of energy, that competition, that excitement. It's definitely different every day, and that's fun. But it's that's a huge challenge.
Exactly. So you have to cope with, just know you're going to be auditioning for the rest of your life, and you're never going to be, the nerves are never going to ever go, as long as, you know.
It's all about accepting them and being okay with them.
And using that as energy.
It's really becoming,
using that energy.
I'm fine with it because I've done it so much, and using it as energy, exactly.
Absolutely. Now, you guys just said something that struck me, was that we're going to be auditioning for the rest of our lives, and some people, when they go to job interviews, they generally have, you know, a couple job interviews, and then hopefully they get a job that then becomes their 9 to 5. Have you ever had friends come up to you and say, I don't know how you do it, you go to all these auditions and I can't even stand a job interview? Has that ever happened to you guys? My friends personally have come up to me and said, how do you do it? Or do you have any tips? Has anybody ever asked you for tips?
Possibly. I mean, definitely there's a misunderstanding of sort of what it all is. And maybe everyone has, I mean, the fact of the reality is, like, everyone has a different interest. People are driven in different ways. You know, maybe you studied one thing. Like, personally, I studied something, and I'm now in a field that I'm passionate about, and it grew into something bigger. So I think there's a general, would you say, misunderstanding kind of in this area of what it all is. What you do every day.
What do we do every day?
Let's talk about the misconceptions. So, like, the most common question you are posed is what when you tell somebody that you're acting.
Question mark? Like what? Why?
Like, really? It's just like a solid just what? Are you serious?
Is that what you guys experience?
Some people get uncomfortable. It's very interesting. I've learned a lot of people don't know where to take the conversation, and I've wondered, did I say that boastfully? Am I not? You know, that's the answer. I'm an actor, but I don't. You know, that's what I do and I love to do, but it kind of gets, sometimes it gets like, I don't know what a follow-up question. Now, if someone says, I'm a scientist, oh, what kind of science do you do? If you say, you know, I'm an actor, like, so did you see that baseball game the other day? They keep moving
They just
on.
changed the subject.
So, and you know, I think it's a hard thing to relate to. For sure.
What do you do every day? How is that in the DC area? You're not in LA right now. I mean, we have a different sort of world of acting here, I think, like we were talking about. The stuff that's prevalent here, the shows that shoot here, the industrials, the military stuff, the government, every advertisement. So, I mean, it's a different thing, and I enjoy the flexibility of something different every day. I enjoy the energy and the competition. I'm such a different person in that way. We all are. And so when it comes to other people that are passionate about their particular work, it's just the same thing. It's just a love of what you do, and you have to love it. So
I think most people don't actually think it's a job.
I know.
They're like, no, what do you do? Like, that's a hobby.
That's a fun thing.
I don't think they realize the amount of work that goes into it, and it's really arduous work at the end of the day. And it's really fun, and we love it, and I don't think we would do it if we didn't. But it's not easy, and so I think that's why people don't have any follow-up questions, because they're like, oh, well, So you're a slacker. That's basically all you do.
So you look pretty on camera. That's what you do. No, it's work, buddy. Yeah, it's usually 10 hours is
a short day.
Is a short day. Yeah, exactly.
And off hours is a normal thing. Crazy
Yeah.
overnight or whatever.
Yeah.
So it is tough to sometimes be on par with everyone else's schedule, but it's different.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really funny. Now, is a question that you guys are asked a lot as to whether or not you're going to be moving to New York or Los Angeles. Do people ask you that all the time?
I think that's a funny follow-up that people often say, just because it's a normal thing to say. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
They,
I think the industry is changing, though. And I think a lot of people who aren't in it don't understand that you can now audition, via video submission to LA a lot. You know, a lot of people don't have to live in LA or New York.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Yes.
It's very helpful to
great
be in
things
those
there.
agencies and you show your beautiful face and say, "Get me a job." That's helpful.
there are also great shows that are filming in Charlotte, Atlanta, New
Yeah.
Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
So it's even the actors
booming
down
here.
there, they're booming and they
Yeah.
get to be a part of great television down there. So
Yeah.
it's really you make
Yeah.
what you have with where you live.
Well, you got some big shows here and a lot more, I think, to come.
Definitely.
Because the
Always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are any of you going to, all of you seem content to be here. Are any of you going to move eventually to maybe a bigger hot spot, whether it be New York or Los Angeles? I know that Atlanta, like you said, has a lot going on. Have you any of you considered moving? Is that something that you want to do eventually, or you want to stay here?
For me, it's been considered. I definitely consider moving, maybe even Philly, because there's a lot going on in
that's
Philly. So
true.
you can
Yes.
commute from Philly down to here or up to New York. It's definitely always a possibility to see, what happens. You gotta be flexible.
You
in
have to
this
be
career.
flexible. It's
Yeah.
always, I feel the same way. It's always on my mind. I've been
Yeah.
in DC since I graduated, and I think I've done some good time here. So I'm always thinking about what's next. But I think it could change any second. So it's important to be flexible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily think that I feel like I would move somewhere if there was an opportunity or a reason.
Okay.
I've never felt the need to have to move somewhere to make that opportunity happen. I think you can make it from wherever you are.
Truth.
And then if that happens, then obviously you have the flexibility to go wherever you're needed.
Certainly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We're going to be wrapping up now, but it's been great talking to each of you, and hopefully we can stay in touch and I can stay up to date as to what you guys are doing, because each of you I know have some great careers that are going to be coming ahead of you. So this has been Lights, Camera, Action with Allison Howard, the first episode of season 2. And I hope that each of you tune in to continue to watch and meet these wonderful actors who we're all going to be introducing you to. And thanks.